The 2021-22 NBA season is over in less than a week. Fans will fill up the stadia to cheer their teams all the way to victory. There could be some surprises in the 2022 playoffs because the NBA is due to return to the 82-game schedule while keeping the play-in tournament. Join us now as we talk about why Charles Barkley feels the Mavericks won't win a championship with their current style, and also have a look at teams that could make deep runs in this year's playoffs. First up, how things are standing now. The early favorites for the Western and Eastern Conferences, respectively, are the LA Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets. You should also look out for the Golden State Warriors and the Milwaukee Bucks. They'll probably be in the mix too, even if the odds don't favor them with the same enthusiasm as the Lakers and the Nets. The Nets made two blockbuster signings in the 2019 offseason. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving signed, but both were out with injuries for the larger part of the 2019-2020 season. Nevertheless, the Nets did manage to hustle their way into the playoffs. In 2020-2021, the Nets instantly formed a title contender by trading for James Harden. Again, injuries ended up ruining the season for them. Then there was Irving's decision to stay unvaxxed. This may well have given the advantage to the Lakers to come out as Western champs. The possibility of James Harden and Kevin Durant making inroads and causing significant damage was already there. But that said, Irving's absence was felt, acutely so. Also in 2020-2021, the San Antonio Spurs and Golden State Warriors got beat by the Memphis Grizzlies. This sent shockwaves through the game, and more surprise entries may be on the cards because there's been a marked improvement in various teams during the offseason. While some teams will look at seriously contending for the championships, there are a few that will be happy with simply making a playoff appearance. Granted, there are early favorites to sew up the season, but a repeat of what the Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee Bucks did last season remains on the cards. Big upsets could be pulled off by unexpected teams pushing hard to reach the NBA Finals. To see why the Knicks are pipped for a deep run in the playoffs, stay with us. We'll be bringing you that in a moment. Now, the 5 teams that could make deep runs in the playoffs. With their impressive and consistent season performances, Portland keeps making the playoffs, but they inevitably lose out somewhere between the first round and the semis. In the 2018-2019 season, they beat the Denver Nuggets and the OKC Thunder en route to a first-time final. In the end, they lost to the Golden State Warriors in 4 games in the conference finals. The Trailblazers are starving for playoff success. They've made only 1 appearance in the finals this century and fell short against the Denver Nuggets last season despite the record-setting performances by Damian Lillard. Chauncey Billups, an NBA former player with all kinds of championship experience, has now taken the helm. This may well be the boost the Blazers needed to rally to a deep playoff run. That said, it remains unlikely they'll go beyond the finals of the conference. For 2 seasons, the LA Clippers eliminated the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks haven't seen the good side of the first round since the 2012 season, and they'll be chomping at the bit to turn things around this year. In the 2018 draft, they traded up to the 3rd pick, and Luka Doncic got drafted. With him and Kristaps Porzingis, the Mavericks got to the playoffs, but they got bounced by the Clippers in the following 2 years. There haven't been many staff changes. They signed Reggie Bullock, mostly to improve three-point shooting, we assume, but at the management level, the Mavericks shook things up a little. Longtime head coach Rick Carlisle made way for Jason Kidd. This may also be just the change the Mavericks need to make a deep NBA playoff run. But both Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic will have to be in top form if Dallas hopes to make it past the first round. Then, it's worth watching the Knicks too. During a rebuilding process lasting 8 years, the New York Knicks had 5 head coaches, and Carmelo Anthony had to play on a losing team because of a no-trade clause in his agreement. The entire environment at the Knicks was a miasma of toxicity. Melo eventually got traded to OKC Thunder, and even though Porzingis had a breakout year, injuries and tensions with the front office saw him traded in the 2018-2019 season. The Knicks had cap space, and they used it to sign several players. In the end, only Julius Randle and Taj Gibson remained out of all the players the team signed in the offseason of 2019. After yet another losing season, Tom Thibodeau was hired in the offseason of 2020. His task? To create the basketball culture that had been so sorely lacking for many seasons. The New York Knicks are undoubtedly looking to solidify their position as one of the Eastern Conference's big teams, and this might lead to a continuing resurgence. Under Tom Thibodeau, an 8-year playoff drought ended last season, and that is no mean feat by any stretch of the imagination. The Knicks finished 4th in 2020-2021, featuring in the playoffs for the first time since 2012. Their performance in the playoffs wasn't impressive at all, but it is something they can build on this season. The Atlanta Hawks knocked them out in the first round. One thing that could make all the difference for the Knicks in this campaign is the way they've built their roster. Scoring options were an issue for them last season, and they've rectified that. To say that they will reach the NBA Finals is a stretch. The smart money will be on another first-round exit. Utah Jazz is perfectly poised to make inroads this season. To get the lowdown, keep watching to the end. Also, keep watching the Philadelphia 76ers. The Philly side had an impressive outing in the 2018-2019 season. They came in third in the regular season. The Toronto Raptors, the eventual champs, came in with a Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater to take the game, and this put an end to the 76ers' journey. The loss of Jimmy Butler weighed heavily on the side, and it showed in the 2019-2020 season. They slumped all the way to a 43-30 record, and couldn't manage to finish better than 6th in the East. But bear in mind that both Joel and Ben were injured for long periods. Some inspired off-season moves marked the beginning of the 2020-2021 season. Doc Rivers came in as the new head coach and Daryl Morey as the new president of basketball operations. The team made it to the first seed in the East, but underdogs, the Atlanta Hawks, put an end to their well-laid plans. For the 76ers, last season's NBA playoffs are synonymous with torrid, horrible times. They will be hard-pressed to conjure up a different outcome this year. Undoubtedly, they have what it takes to be the best in the East, but the winning formula still seems to evade them. It was a 2020-2021 49-23 run that saw them snatch the top seed in the East. The first-round series was fairly easy against the Washington Wizards, but the going got tough for them in the semis. Joel Embiid, who led the team with an injury, did a magnificent job, but his efforts alone were not enough. There were several collapses, and these saw the Sixers concede humongous leads late in games. The Hawks and Trae Young took advantage of the low confidence Ben Simmons displayed. His poor shooting contributed to the 76ers being eliminated in 7 games. The roster is full of players of caliber, and Simmons is potentially back. This puts the Sixers in a position to go all the way to the finals. This is a tall task, but Embiid has proven over and over again that he makes a difference, and that he has what it takes to swing things in the favor of the Philly side. Finally, Utah Jazz is poised for a deep run. Rudy Gobert was the 27th pick overall by the Denver Nuggets in 2013, but Utah Jazz traded for him. The plan was to build the franchise around Gobert and Gordon Hayward. The 2015-2016 season saw them finish with 40-42, and they missed a playoff spot by a hair. In the season that followed, they put up a record of 51-31. This got them a playoff spot, but they ended up losing in the conference semifinals. Even though the Jazz lost to the Golden State Warriors, Gobert and Hayward both had a breakout year. Hayward left soon thereafter to join the Boston Celtics. Ricky Rubio and Donovan Mitchell soon came on board for the Jazz, and a magnificent partnership with Gobert immediately formed. Mitchell and Gobert had a stupendous season for the franchise, and were selected as All-Star reserves for the All-Star Game in 2020. The Jazz has made a regular appearance in playoffs for 5 seasons in a row, but they haven't made it past the Western Conference Finals. They went up 2-0 against the LA Clippers last season, and then suffered an unexpected collapse. They exited in the second round for the 3rd time in 5 years, after they lost 4 games in succession. Right now, though, the Jazz has one of the most balanced NBA teams. As far as rim protectors go, Rudy Gobert is magical, and Mitchell's offense orchestration is sublime. There are many contenders, though, and the Utah Jazz will have their task cut out for them if they're to make inroads in these playoffs. And with that, folks, we come to the end of this video. Please remember to hit the like and follow buttons, and keep an eye out for our next contribution. Thanks for staying with us.